sorry, lad.
Well, hello everyone. Yes, it has been a hot minute since I've been back. So, an explanation of why I'm late. Well, an explanation would be I decided to do something which you shouldn't do. Was I decided to lay my head down for a bit. Now, obviously, it doesn't always turn out the way you think it does. Sometimes you're able to just stay awake and be fine. However, the day was not that day. So, um, I passed out. So yeah, when you get home from work, you just want to sit down for a moment and take a breath and all that stuff. My brain absolutely just went, nope, time to go to bed. And yeah, so I don't remember when I passed out. All I remember is I woke up saying, shoot. So there is that. But I am here. My guess is gonna take a moment. My fault, of course. My fault. So luckily they're still coming because otherwise it would have been a very hot mess. So hello everyone, how are all of you? Despite the disappearing act, it has certainly been an interesting 4th of July weekend. Obviously, like I took from the second, I think it was. What was that day? It was from the no, actually, it was the 3rd to the 6th. Obviously, because there was a holiday going on, and I know not everyone, what's the word, celebrates the holiday. But the point of the matter is I took that holiday because I don't rely on content creation for paying my bills, so I can. And so spent some time with family, listened to a bunch of annoying fireworks. Almost felt like I was one of those people about the chat from fireworks, but that's a personal matter, not a real issue. But anyway, how are you, Nightmare? Sorry about that. Hmm, I don't. Can you hear me or no? I don't know if you can hear me or not. He probably doesn't have his microphone on or whatever. Um, does look like Batman though. For someone who calls themselves Nightmare, and you look like Batman, that's an interesting combo right there. But anyway, I was like, yes. So I take that time off. Uh,
Can you hear me all right now?
yes, I can. I can hear you.
Okay, there we go.
I was just waiting for you to say I am the night or something like that.
For legal reasons, I am not Batman.
Are you his brother, Ratman? No, that doesn't work. Never mind. It just doesn't look good.
No, it
Anyway.
my entire persona is an homage to the end of Batman Arkham Knight, where
Mm,
he becomes a sort of like a demon bat thing.
mhm.
Um,
Oh,
and so
okay.
that's what it's a reference to.
Oh, okay, yeah, 'cause I know I remember when I watched the Nolan series, there was at one point where I think it was the first one where everyone got that, like, scare, gas, whatever on him,
The fear
and
gas.
fear gas, yeah, and then you could kinda see at some point he kinda looked demonic, like, there's at one point where he's flying across.
Yeah, they did something similar in Batman Begins.
Yeah, it just I think that's the only time he ever looked no, and then there was the other part where he got, Scarecrow. I can't remember what they actually called him, but that Scarecrow, and he looked demonic in that point too, so it's sort of
Yeah,
fear gas.
yeah, and
But
they use that in the video game. So Batman Begins actually did have a video game.
oh, it
In the
did?
video game, yeah, and so in the game, it only that one had a video game. The sequels did not,
Hmm,
um, because okay, so I'll finish the Batman Begins part first. At some point in Batman Begins, the game,
mm,
you can do like a sort of a fear takedown type of thing, and it will make Batman look, kind of demonic for a second while he does it.
mhm,
But the lore behind the sequels is the Dark Knight was supposed to get a video game, and it was
mhm,
canceled by EA, who
mm,
shut down the studio Pandemic Brisbane, who were the ones making it. But then
interest
we got Arkham Asylum the year after, so
oh, that's right, yeah, there's what, Arkham Asylum,
mhm.
and the few other ones that came after that,
Yeah, so Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, and then there was also prequel Arkham Origins, which it's okay.
yeah. Well, I mean, I never played the games, but I know at least throughout the whole Arkham series, Kevin Conroy had voiced Batman, which we all know
Yep.
was the animated Batman. I do know that I think it was in the CW side that they were doing like this Infinite Earth Crisis thing, and you got to see him play a version of Batman, which was pretty interesting. But the also other funny part of that too is that you got to see Brandon Ruth play
Yeah, they did
Superman
their
again.
version of Crisis on Infinite Earths, which
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I never liked the CW stuff very much, but it was kind of cool that they brought Kevin Conroy in to be Bruce Wayne for a bit.
yeah,
It's nice
and
that he got to do that.
yeah, because I mean, it's usually just been animated work, as far as I know, and, for him to get to play a version of Batman, not the Batman, but a version of Batman, was pretty interesting. Because I think he was, like, wearing a, exosuit or something like that. I can't remember
Something
what it
like
was.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that being the case, but I just thought it was pretty neat that they had they had Brandon Ruth play Superman again, and he was also playing like,
The Atom,
the Atom for was it the Heroes of Tomorrow, something like that? And,
whatever it
they
was called. Yeah.
yeah, the Legends of Tomorrow or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And they had him kind of be both there, and it's like, "Wait a second, I'm the Atom, and yeah, you're Superman." I was like that was so hilarious, but it was pretty nice they did it because I mean, for Brandon Routh's, version of Superman, which is sort of, a chunk off the Christopher Reeve one, I enjoyed the movie. I do agree that the story of, Superman Returns, there was a bit of "Hey, last command, Jeff." Hey, thank you, Duct Tape. Nice to see you. Sorry about earlier. My thing with, Brandon Routh's version is that yes, the story of Superman Returns did have that bit of an oddity towards the end, because I don't think there'd ever been a story about, Superman having kids other than the animated series, which
I don't know if he had kids in the animated series. I don't think he did.
well, I think there was something about, like, the only episode I remember is, like, in the Justice League. There was an episode of the Justice League where they had, like, uh like, animal or whatever it was, like a squid-like animal would wrap around you, and it'd show you, like, your greatest, woes or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But that's the only time I think there wasn't even like a kid of sorts. But it was funny we still was on Krypton and whatnot.
Well, there are versions of Superman that have had kids. It's just kind of nebulous. Also, DC tends to reboot their universes all the time, and their
Hmm.
continuity can be kind of a mess. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, and the same thing with Marvel. I mean, what's the difference at this point?
so the difference is DC actually does like a hard reboot of
Mm,
their comics. They've done it at least twice, I think, probably
mhm,
more. Marvel, on the other hand, they've just had like one long continuity. They've done a lot of like retcons and
yeah,
like small reboots, but the
mhm,
overall Marvel, like their main Marvel universe, is still
mhm,
the same universe. They just keep throwing stuff into it. I was really unhappy when they did that whole multiverse thing a few years ago. Well, multiverse collapse thing, and took like
yeah,
alternate universes and just shoved them in, and that's how we got Miles Morales in the main universe. But I mean,
yeah.
Marvel's been dead to me comic wise since like 2006. So
I think the only comic book I've ever read was the Sonic one, and that was like ages ago. Um, and that was
eh.
pretty much I've never been a comic book reader as many people are. I mean, again, there are people who've read comic books, but not to the extent of like collecting and showing up at the shows to do all this other stuff.
Oh,
I
I haven't gotten that far. I just read them.
yeah, I manga is more of my arena, and I haven't even done that in a while. So there's that. Um,
Yeah, Sonic. I'm curious if you know who was the publisher for Sonic,
I
the comic you read.
I don't even have the comic anymore. That's the sad part
Yeah.
is I don't know. But I do think it was still what were they original like IDW or something like that. I think
So
was the original.
IDW, I think, is more modern. I know Archie Comics was publishing Sonic for a long time, and those are the Sonic comics that I remember.
Yeah, those that was most likely because the reason why I was reading because there was only the one comic, and
Mhm.
the reason why I was reading it is because a long time ago as a kid, I had flat feet, and there's it's not a very good thing to some degree because there's a pain associated with that sort of thing. And so when I had the surgery, so what they did to me was they at least from what I remember, because this is a long time ago, like in my teens, I'm way past that point now. Um, they lengthened as far as I remember, they lengthened my Achilles heel and they put a calcium deposit what I remember they telling me, underneath my, ankle. So, this was, oh, man, 20 some years ago, to say the least at this point, and, when we were done at the hospital, 'cause, that was a fun ordeal, my mom had gone to, like I think it was like a grocery store, a Meijer, a Walmart, or something like that, and at the time, they did sell comic books in the
Those were the
aisle.
days.
Yeah. So what happens is that when you were going up to the register to pay for your items, there would be many magazines. I'm talking like People, all sorts of stuff, but they would also sell comics as well. And so during that time period, comics were still being sold on that because it was on people's way out. People could have time to look if they were in line or whatever, and all sorts of stuff. And so, you do that and all that. And of course, Sonic was my favorite thing. I had like a little Sonic throw ball back in the day, and I still have it. I think this is what happens when you collect stuff over time; it just ends up disappearing. Um, but yeah, it was just a Sonic comic. I don't remember what it was in the comic. I don't remember what the story was about, but it was about 20 plus years ago, so it had to be probably when Archie was still in charge of it. Is what I was trying to
Yeah,
get to.
that would make sense. Yeah, yeah. I remember I had a ton of Archie comics back in the day. Yeah,
Mm,
I really only talk about superheroes these days because I mean those are the only comics anybody really knows about. But
right.
yeah, back in the day, I had a ton of Archie comics and read a lot of those.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you can easily go to the library and read a comic, like a comic book. I mean, they have like compilation ones and all that sort of stuff for individual ones. Usually, they're not all like full series because it's a library, right? Those books get shared around and stuff.
yeah.
Some people are very neglect with them.
Yeah, usually, at least it's been a long time since I've been to a library, but usually what you'll find there are trade paperbacks. So just like compilations of story arcs or issues.
Yeah, I know for one fact. I think now I saw some uh, like a paperback, like a soft cover paperback or something. No, is it a soft cover paperback? Um, it's just like this sort of big book thing because comic books are they're not too big, although that's not all of them. I think there may be a rare occasion where you do get a comic that's a bit big, um, by some
Depends.
standard. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, but usually you get like these big compilations of like certain comics or a comic series or something like that. But yet, like you said, it just depends. But I mean, for me, it wasn't that big of a thing. Manga was pretty much uh, a big one at a certain point, but that was because okay, okay. A manga would you so I think the first manga I ever read was Love Hina. Love Hina is, of course, done by the Ken Akumatsu-san, who also did a few other ones. Another one he did was Negi Magai, Magister Magai. It's about magic. But his Love Hina one, all I remember is that is that the front cover of one of the manga for Love Hina. It was basically it was basically they were in a hot like an onsen, and you could see their top end, but there wasn't anything more descriptive than that. There was just, so there was a form of nudity, but it wasn't really nudity because it was acceptable enough to be in a library. So there was that. So that's that's my first manga. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are very um comic book called among us. Among among
Among Us.
among us, yeah. Well, it has the A after Mong, and I'm just like, you could just said among us. That would have it just confused me there. Oh man, but yeah, nowadays you go to say like Barnes and Noble or something like that, and manga is pretty much taking up more shelves than you can count, and you only have maybe one a shelf or two for regular Western comics, and that's actually been pretty interesting to see that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, it's sad. I mean, I never really got into manga or anything,
Mm,
um, because I mean, there's a particular type of story you get with Western superhero comics,
mm,
and that's what really appeals to me. And that's, it's sad that both major companies have effectively torpedoed these incredible projects that have gone on for decades,
mm.
and now we have pretty much garbage. But there's a particular type of story I like, and it's very different from the kinds of stories you get in manga and the like.
Yeah, and obviously, manga prints are massive, but it's also because Japan believes in old-fashioned prints. Still, we're so focused on digital, we killed the comic industry. I mean, they have digital too, but people still like having a physicality to things. Um, I mean, and even then, Shonen Jump is doing digital as well, and all sorts of stuff. So there is a move too, but I mean, people still love having a physical form of something, and I can't blame blame 'em for that. Can't blame blame 'em for that. But yeah, now I haven't read a manga in such a long time. It's been, because it's just one, there's just not enough time, and it's busy with other stuff, so,
Yep.
uh, I mean, for you, well, you know what? I didn't even start at the show great anyway, so you know what? We're just gonna Oh, man. I love it when life kinda slaps you in the face and said, "It's time to wake up," and then you're just like, "Oh, son of a bit!" Because that's what happened, so thank you guys for being here. How are you doing, Rio? I hope you're doing well over there. Um but yeah, I'm glad to be able to have you on, Nightmare. Cause I talked to just about everyone, and I would say you're probably mostly a VTuber because you do have a um
I am effectively a VTuber, yes,
yeah
but I don't use. Uh, yeah, what makes me different, I guess, is that I'm not using a anime style avatar.
yeah I am the Avatar.
Well, you know what? Uh, we can keep talking, but I'm gonna see if I can pull something up here.
Ooh, or now we're gonna see something majestic.
Well, you're
He
not gonna
look
see it, but you might hear it if I can get it to work.
right. I am I am the law of the night. Uh,
Well, no, the line, the famous line was, "I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman."
yep. I remember that. Um, that was yeah, because I remember Kevin Conroy when he was doing Batman said that
Yep.
many a times for the not only the Batman animated series, but also the Justice League as well, and maybe the rare occasion on Superman, because I
So
think
he
there's
said it, I believe, mainly he said it the one time in Batman the Animated Series. It was a
okay.
Scarecrow episode.
Oh yeah.
The context is that if I, the way what I remember is the context was he's seeing images of his father and maybe Alfred. No, just his father telling him, he's a disappointment, etc.
Mm,
And he's just reassuring himself, no, I am not a disappointment. You are not my father. And then he
mhm.
says the line. So he's basically reassuring himself.
Yeah.
And then he does it in the at the very end of Arkham Knight when he's finally beating up the Joker in his mind. And that one is it doesn't really fit as well, but it's very clearly meant as an homage to the original line. So
Mm, yeah. And yeah, I've only DC Comics is real life. Yeah, well, I don't know about that. But then again, I'm not in the middle of all that noise with the US comics. I do know there's a lot of independent comics coming up now, because like the big companies and stuff and all that, which is
yeah, there are a lot of interesting, indie projects going around, and I wish them the best of success, but for me it's really an attachment to like specific characters, so the indie ones probably wouldn't be for me.
yeah, it's just one of those things where I think with how those two big companies are, Marvel, DC, and all that. I think having the option of independent will be much greater, but the issue of it is that a lot of independent relies on um, what is it, like Indiegogo and all that other stuff to get their comic out there, because it does take a lot of money, right? It takes a lot of money to print. If there's color, it takes a lot more. That's why on the manga scale, majority of them are in black and white because color is so expensive, really. And and then and printing the color because usually I think American comics, the majority of them are in color. Like they're printed with color, and that's costly. That's very costly. So doing that plays into the fact of independent of trying to so where it takes thousands upon thousands of dollars to print, to staple, or however they do it, the comic, and then you're trying to make it look right, and then you may have a mistake comic, all this stuff. It is costly, and that's why it's so much easier for, say, like Marvel or DC to do it because they just have the now. I think they have not only the backing but also the equipment to print and stuff like that. Where individuals or
There's
independent,
the equipment, but they also have to hire a colorist.
that's pretty good. Yeah, sounds just like them too.
Yes, I do a lot of work with AI, so I'm able to create a lot of impressions. This is what I was trying to show earlier.
Yeah. That's not bad. That must have been a lot of, run-throughs of his voice, though.
Um, Mainly what you need is a lot of voice clips that
Mhm,
sound like what you want.
mhm,
And in the end, you still have to do an impression that's decent.
mm. Yeah, because I mean, that's pretty good. for what it is. There are some still mistakes you can tell, but for the most part, it it's pretty much the Batman voice right there. Hey, Dishboard.
Yes.
So, but that brings me to the question too, is like, because you are very interested in that side of things, what did you think of, say, the Nolan series, the trilogy?
So I get a lot of complaints when I say this,
Hmm.
but I am not a fan of any live action. Well, I don't love any live action Batman.
Hmm.
So I like aspects of a lot of them.
Hmm.
But for example, Christopher Nolan's Batman lets Ra's al Ghul die at the end of Batman Begins. That's not something that Batman would do.
Well, he did. Oh no, wait, no, yeah, he did die at the very end. He did save his life once, and then that kind of turned things
Yeah.
around. But yeah, I see what
Yes.
you're saying.
Like Batman's philosophy is typically he's not going to let anyone die,
Hmm.
not just not kill them.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there's that, but there are aspects of it that I like as well. I think Bruce's childhood, his parents were handled very very well.
Yeah.
Um, I like that version of the Batmobile. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah, the Tumblr. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
that's when you
Yeah.
know it's good. I think there were only a few of them actually made. I will tell you this. There was an episode of if you know who Jay Leno is, there was an episode of
Yeah.
where they actually brought one of those vehicles to his garage, and the inside was very Hollywood made sort of thing. Like the outside, yes, the interior was very you just operated at it as it is. But I think it had to cost a couple million when they put it together. But man, oh man, those things were look fun to drive.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, but I can understand that. I mean, again, I'm not too big into the sphere of the comics and all this stuff, and for
Yeah. My
someone,
favorite Batman movie is the animated one from 1993, I think,
mm,
Mask of the Phantasm,
oh
and
yeah,
that one is part of Batman the Animated Series. So
yeah, that's way back in the day because I remember there was that, and there was probably a few others, and then of course there was the whole um, Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher Batman series
that
as
was
well.
before.
Yeah,
So
that was
yeah.
before. Those are live action as well.
Yeah, so
Um,
the Tim Burton movies are actually the reason that we got the animated series in the first place. So,
oh, really? I didn't know
well,
that.
yeah, because Warner Brothers wanted to capitalize on the success of those movies with the cartoon lineup. So
Mhm. Yeah, it's pretty
they,
interesting.
yeah,
Um, yeah, because I never knew I never knew that kind of led into the other. Because again, it was Tim Burton, and then you had you had
yeah, the
Joe.
Joel Schumacher ones are not
Yeah.
as good. I
Hey,
mean,
you know.
again,
Oh,
I don't love the Tim Burton movies
mhm,
that much, but they they contributed a lot.
yeah.
So
Hey, you know what? It's probably the only time I'll ever see Arnold Schwarzenegger make ice puns, okay? That is a real true gift.
yeah, that is pretty funny.
It's nice. It's ice to see you. And I can't, it's when a celebrity does a movie or whatever, you never know if they enjoy it or not. But it kind of felt like he actually enjoyed doing that because there's a whole lot of ice puns. Oh
Yeah,
man. It wouldn't that live action Batman would not be the same without it. I don't tell you. Oh, and Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman was in that too as Poison Ivy. So there was that sort of
yeah,
it was I gotta say that one was probably a campy Batman. And there have been campy Batman. Obviously, Adam West, all that sort of that was a very campy Batman. It was very funny. Ooh, Batman. That's right, Toothman. That's right. Well, no, it's not the Batman. This is sort of like his cousin, Nightmare, uh, thing, whatever we'll call it. Um, but uh, but yeah, I did kind of enjoy that, and I just like I know people like to kind of piss down on for for that one, and I think was it Batman Forever or Batman and Robin were the last one out of that series. Because
I
George
can never remember which is which.
yeah, George Clooney, I believe, played oh, thank you, Tooth Man, thank you. I think George Clooney played the last 2 movies, because it
No,
was
no, no. It was I forget if it was Val Kilmer who came first and then George Clooney, or if it was Clooney and then Kilmer. But
I think it was Keaton, then Kilmer, and then Clooney was after that.
okay,
Uh,
yeah.
but I think Clooney only did, like, 2 Batman
No,
movies for
Clooney and Kilmer did one each.
oh, they did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I get it, but I think if you kinda go back and look at it for what it is rather than a masterpiece, which is for me one of those things where, like, majority of movies you watch or that, you or I watch, not gonna be some Oscar winner, some Grammy winner, or whatever you wanna call it. They're just gonna be a movie that is, right? And I get it, a movie you don't like, that's fine, but a lot of movies that were, um, not blockbusters, office bombs or stuff like that, some of them went on to be considered the cult classics, and I think, those ones, whether it be the Burton or Schumacher ones, those are, to some, a sort of, cult classic because, yeah, you could say the writing was awful, the whatever it was awful, the
Well, the Burton ones were very successful in just about every way, I think, but
Mm.
you could say that for the Schumacher ones, I suppose.
Well, so funny enough, it was actually in, one of the Schumacher ones where you had the song, "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal there, and
Yeah.
that helped that song become so popular. It didn't become it was I believe they put the song in at towards the end of the movie during the credits rather than any time before then. And, the music video for it, I think, was just, like, bits and pieces chopped up from the movie over the song, but A Kiss from a Rose was made popular by was helped made popular by the Schumacher, Batman, so, just a little history there. But, um but yeah, I just go back to hearing, Arnold Schwarzenegger make ice puns. That's just hilarious to me. Oh, man. Oh, goodness. But yeah, I mean, how long you been doing this? Because I know you do your stuff on, YouTube, obviously, but, like, how long you been doing this, content creation stuff?
So, let's see. I made my channel a very, very long time ago, and
Mhm,
originally it was just random dumps of random things, some video game music rips, and everything's still there.
mhm,
I think both Rumble and YouTube should have all the content.
right,
So the earliest content is just random dumps of like, yeah, some video game music that was hard to find, um, and then just some like random meme type stuff. And then a couple of years ago, I rebranded it to Amazing Comics, and I started making like the sort of like video essay type videos about random like comic book related topics. So I made one on Amazing Fantasy 15. That was the
mhm,
origin of Spider-Man, and then did one on a Batman story arc, one on a Batman animated movie, and then the last one was like the history of the comics code.
mhm,
Um, and so yeah, that was a few months ago. And then I basically at some point I started popping onto a couple of people's podcasts, and I figured I should have an avatar, and so I put this thing together.
mhm.
And then I figured, well, hey, if I have an avatar, why not try VTubering? So a few months back, I rebranded my channel again to Knightmare, and here I am.
Yeah, and, yeah, that's pretty interesting because I mean, I know there are a lot of, comic channels out there, like, a few I've come across on YouTube, like Comics Explained or, another one, which I really haven't checked up on in a long time because again, it's um it's a kind of an interesting thing. A lot of people are inspired or they're very passionate about comics. But there's a lot of people out there that talk about comics. So you do have a wide plethora field of people talking about rare comics, current comics, people who uh I don't know, they put them in these bags to keep them safe and stuff. I don't
Yeah,
mylar
bagging and boarding.
yeah, bagging and boarding. Because there are some comic books out there that are worth a pretty penny if they're like the first
Yeah.
edition or a rare edition or stuff like that, which is understandable. But it is just not in my field, and I'm not interested. It's more of it's just one of those things where it's there for someone else. For me, it's just not that sort of thing.
Well, I'm not really into like the collecting aspect of it either. I'm really just there for the stories.
Okay. Yeah, that's another point there is fine as well because I mean, obviously that's what comic books are for, is to draw you into the stories of the character, whether it be a DC character or a Marvel character or an independent character, because the independent scene is starting to kind of build up to something more. Um, but yeah, it's a wild world out there for comics, and we'll see how uh, far that boomerang goes, I guess, because of that sort of competition between American comics versus Japanese comics. I know the French make their own comics as well, but more than not, it's just seen as like the Japanese and all this sort of stuff because they can go pretty much anywhere to a degree, and American comics are kind of held back a bit, if that makes sense.
Kind of.
Like,
Well, the Japanese stuff has a lot more variety to it,
mm,
but it usually doesn't do what the American stuff does. So the American stuff is kind of its own niche, at least
yeah,
in the superhero genre.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the creator of My Hero Academia was very much inspired by the comic characters, American comic characters, but it's just so uh, all that sort of stuff, and a lot of people have been watching the series and the anime and all that stuff, and it's gained its own popularity. I think the I think the one advantage they have is that um, they can. I don't know if the American side does or not, but it's the advantage is that they are able to pump out more per se rather than the American side because I think they're putting out something once every week. I'll have to re-look those up. So don't take my word for it. Because I don't want someone to
I'm,
say that's not true.
I'm sure some of them are weekly. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
because
then again, they're probably putting out like smaller releases or like alternating the stories,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially if you have something as big as like One Piece. Like One Piece is monstrous. It has
yeah.
probably sold more books than any comic book so far as I know of. Because it's just insane. It's just insane how big it is, and why Dragon Ball. Good lord, Dragon Ball is huge in
Yep.
the Latin countries, and they when Akira Toriyama had passed, it was massive. It was massive. So um, not sure how much the American comic side has. If you want to go by those numbers, if a certain comic has sold more or whatever, but just by looking at the manga side, there have been some that have sold a lot and are still a lot in circulation. I mean, look, you have you have One Piece going up to like 1,000 different chapters at this point. There's no way in heck you see that over on the American side.
Well, I mean, you're not obviously we don't have the same like frequency of releases, but when you think
Mm,
about it, all the old Marvel and DC characters, they've
yeah.
been going for a very, very long time. I mean, Spider-Man
Mm,
I mean, well, look, with all the reboots and things, they've messed things up in recent years. But
Mm.
you know, had they not done that, Spider-Man would be on like I don't even know what issue they would be on by this point. But they
Oh,
would, yeah,
10,000 maybe, but yeah,
no,
you're
not 10,000, but like something probably something like 1,000 or something like that. And
mhm,
that's just the main Amazing Spider-Man title, because then there were all those like side titles like Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and
mhm,
so on.
yeah. Plus you get the, various artists, storytellers, throughout
Yeah,
the years because and it changes, and so that's where the issue comes, that the story changes between each person, while with manga, as long as they're alive, the story has a linear spacious. While it does have a bit of craziness to it, it does have a linearness in, say, story-wise and stuff. And with the American comics, you really don't see that much. You see it broken up by decade or by artist, and so you have a very disconjointed story. And then, of course, like you mentioned earlier, all the reboots and then Secret Wars and all that stuff. That
well,
stuff
because it's not just one story that they're telling. It's really like it's almost more of like a saga of this character,
mhm,
but that character is involved in all these different stories left and right. You have story arcs, but you don't have like one overarching large story. Like with most like with a lot of manga and stuff, it's this is about like this one. There's this one specific MacGuffin
mhm,
that these characters are after, and then as soon as they get it, the story ends. And it might go on forever, but
yeah,
that is the main focus of the story. Whereas with comic books, it was that we just have this character, and this is just like the story of their life.
mhm. Well, I mean, you could say the story of Demon Slayer, while that has been, done for, ages ago. So
Yeah.
the manga was already done ages before they started making an anime and the movies about it. But it does have a story of, loss of family, sort of revenge, and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know if there was a MacGuffin. I think it's more of just like
Well,
it's
there's still like an overarching story. That's just an
yeah.
example, but there's still like an overarching story of this is what this character is doing. This is what this character maybe means to accomplish. That
Mhm,
sort of thing. There's
yeah.
like one specific focus to the story, and once that part of that story is told, they're done. They don't just like give you the ongoing adventures of this character. It's just this particular story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And again, not never every manga ever created get reaches that height. Again, there's fast food creations. Obviously, they're just meant to eat once and then you're done. And then there's some that are meant to like, um, I don't know if many people have looked at this stuff, but Osamu Tezuka, created Astro Boy or Atom Boy from their end, and all that stuff, and all the various of uh, philosophical and all that sort of stuff. From there, he created a bunch of different stories, some of which people might disagree with, but it is what it is. Because again, when you're coming between either or, and you want to talk about different stories explored or just different types of things explored, I'm really not sure I've ever, I've really I'm really not sure any American comic has ever has ever had something that's considered a, femboy in it, so
Well, they do now.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they suck.
Hey, well, if you try to copy something you don't know too well on, well, it's not gonna
Oh no,
go
no, no, no,
well.
no. They do it they do it for political reasons. They're not doing
Oh,
it
yeah.
for
And
yeah.
that's where that goes
That's why it
off to.
sucks.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's why it sucks. If you do try to do it for political reasons instead of otherwise, it really doesn't turn out well. Stuff like cross-dressing is not really
It
s
has a very different context in
yeah,
Western stuff than it does in Japanese.
yeah. So you do have some things that they can do, and get away with versus what the American side can't or doesn't want to. It's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
I see it. And so when you have um when you have all these different forms of stories or whatnot, there are certain subject matters I don't think they would touch on, just because. But on the Japanese side, it's like we'll do it anyway to some degree. Like Berserk, right? Like, have you ever? I don't know if you ever read Berserk, but have you ever seen something that's could be just as dark as Berserk? Because it gets
I
pretty dark.
mean, things can get pretty dark in Western comics. I mean, especially like, I mean, Batman gets pretty dark, but then even darker, you got things like the Punisher and stuff like that. So
Mm,
it can get pretty dark. But then again, you have to keep in mind with typical comics, you have a particular setting that they also have to go for. So it
yeah.
varies.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you especially were talking about the what was it? The coding back in the day. I know
The
there was
comics code, yeah.
yeah, the comics code because I remember, Marvel had that a while back and it was like you couldn't what was it? You couldn't show uh anything sexual, you couldn't do this or that or
Yep.
whatever. All
Yeah.
that stuff.
So the comics code is gone now, and it's been gone
Right.
since 2010 was the
Mm.
last time it was used on anything.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, yeah. If I remember right, Marvel was it Marvel? No, so DC quit the comics code first, I think,
Mm.
like in the early 2000s, and then Marvel quit. Or am I getting it backwards? Anyway, between Marvel and DC, one of the two quit in like 2000, then 2001 or so, and the other quit in like 2010.
Mm. What was the exactness of the code? Do you know or no?
It varied. They changed it up a bunch of times. So, like, I go over all of that in my comics code video. So,
Mm.
if you want all the details,
Let's see.
but
It's
yeah, the original comics code was extremely extensive. It censored just about everything
yeah.
because it was based on the original Hayes Code in Hollywood, and
Mm.
then yeah, as time went on, they got yeah. So as time went on, the publishers okay, so yeah, so Marvel abandoned it in 2001 and then DC quit in 2010.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, 2011, sorry.
Yeah. 20.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, it was very strict early on, and then the publishers started complaining basically because that you started getting like indie comics and foreign comics popping up
Mhm,
that were kind of undercutting them, and so they're like, well, we're restricted, but they're not,
mhm.
and so then they basically kept loosening and loosening the code up until they just got sick of it, stopped
Yeah,
using it.
'cause, it says right here, publisher William Gaines believed that clauses forbidding the words crime, horror, and terror and
So yeah, that's again, this is something I go over in my video.
mhm,
So William Gaines was the publisher of EC Comics, who went out of business ultimately.
yeah,
Well, their comics went out of business because of the comics code.
yeah, that sucks.
So
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Following
yeah,
shows
this is the original code that you're looking at here. It's massive,
wow. Oh, yeah, sex perversion, nudity. Yeah, a majority of the stuff would just you
and
would
this is just a summary too. This isn't like the official code.
wow, that's pretty interesting. But, yeah, that is a
Yep.
lot, though, and that was, like again, this is, like, 1950s where obviously they were trying to make it more,
Yeah, it
um
was based on the Hayes Code that Hollywood had,
yeah,
and just like with Hollywood, foreign stuff, indie stuff started undercutting the mainstream stuff, and so
yeah,
eventually they just had to loosen it and pull it.
yeah. Yeah, because how else would you be able to sell something if your competition could come in and say and, again, Japanese comics could come in and do something that you were, by the code, forbidden to
Yep.
do. You're undercutting a business at that point, and yeah, it just becomes something that doesn't help. And if
Yep.
you're something that's about the American interest, you either, as you were saying, loosen the code, or you just keep throwing people on it, and keep losing business. And comic books are not cheap to make. So
Well, that and the main reason the code existed in the first place was because they were afraid that the government was going to censor the industry. But ultimately, this just ended up resulting in the government threat and the code itself that they made just so the government wouldn't officially censor them.
Mhm.
It just resulted in the comics industry doing worse overall. So,
Yeah.
in other words, in attempting to sanitize everything American, they ended up basically torpedoing the American industry.
Yeah. Yeah, and that doesn't bode well for people who actually rely on it to pay their bills.
Yep.
Yeah, there are a lot of people. But yeah, you know, the comics ordeal, the competition of comics and all this stuff. It's all fascinating in its own right because it's comics are Americana to some degree.
Yeah,
Um,
they are. Yeah, they're very, very American. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything like the classic comics that you can really apply because that really applies to America because they've been ongoing since the 30s,
mhm,
and they're so tightly integrated with America. Everything is set in the stories are set in America. The characters are mostly Americans.
mhm.
And they're all especially the big ones are all full of American values and such.
Yeah.
There are all these different stories. It's kind of like a modern mythology, but there's no religion involved. So really, anybody can pick it up and enjoy it.
Well, I mean, they did kind of borrow from Norse mythology for like
They
or
do, but what I mean is, they're not like a religious mythology where they're telling you stories from a particular religion. Even all the characters pulled from various, uh, ancient religions and such, they are still their own versions of the characters. They're not,
mhm.
it's not a religious myth. It's still something else, just borrowing these characters and remaking them.
Yeah, which which for like Norse mythology and stuff, they're all for those who don't know, Norse mythology is more the old tradition of what they call that of oral or is more oral tradition, which means it was told through remembering of the stories rather than just writing it down and all that until I believe uh, I believe during that period of time where Christianity came over to know, Norway and all those places, some I can't remember who it was, but someone had begun trying to write down those stories. And again, over time, if it's just based on oral tradition, stories kind of change a bit between person to person because people maybe forget something, something may change because they want it to change. It's a whole bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so they modify things to suit, the story and such. So it's not really a it's not really a religious mythology either. I mean, for instance, in the comics, Loki,
mm,
his original father is the frost giant Lofi, but in uh, Norse mythology, like the real Norse mythology, Lofi is a female.
yeah, yep, yep, and no, and Odin is the one who, um, oh man, I don't know if it's sleep with or whatever, but they don't really look like what they're portrayed as in the series, like
Yeah.
Blue Thing or whatever. They're more humanoid. Hey Gina, what up? What up, Gina? Nice to see you. Um, excuse me, but yeah, that was a cough that went wrong. Good lord. Um, but yeah, it's always fascinating to kind of learn about those things. But at the end of it all, um, it's just interesting to see them kind of borrow from certain aspects of reality, and porting them over like Norse mythology and some other ones. I think they in the Marvel side they borrowed like other ones as well, like
I think Norse and Greek are the main ones.
Norse, Greek. There was the whole thing with like the sky gods back in the day. And then you had all certain things 'cause it was extensive for their
Well, they have a
um
lot of other things that aren't necessarily based on a particular mythology. So they have like the Celestials. They have
mhm.
these are all like cosmic entities. They're not really based on any mythology.
Yeah, and it's sort of funny to kind of see them walk away from that a bit, like the Celestials and the stuff like
Well, they've butchered that
mhm.
a lot. So like they had that movie The Eternals, which was
Yeah,
really bad.
yeah, that was the as far as understood it, because like I mentioned earlier, I would follow one of those comic people on YouTube, and that's where I learned about, Infinity War, basically. Because the whole ordeal of Infinity War was completely different than what they portrayed in the movies. Um, because you had the Silver Surfer, you had um just the X-Men were part of it, a whole bunch. Mephisto was part of it, all sorts of
Yeah,
different.
and the movies also completely messed up Thanos' motivation as well. Thanos
Yeah,
wasn't some,
Equalizer.
he wasn't some philanthropist trying to save the earth from overpopulation. He was trying to kill as many people as possible to please death, like the personification of death,
Mr.
who
Steth,
is not
yeah.
interested in him.
No, what well, the comics kinda go deeper into that, but it was just one of those funny things because, well, after I had seen that, I was like, "Okay, so are they gonna?" Because that also plays in the fact of Deadpool, right? There's
Yep.
there's 2 versions of this where you have the seriousness of Mr. Steth with Thanos, and then you have this sort of silliness with Mr. Steth with Deadpool, so you have 2 kinda different sides, but Mr. Steth is very, um into and I don't think during the Infinity War that was a thing yet. But yeah, it's sort of like Thanos' whole ordeal. It wasn't about balancing the universe. It was about pleasing Mr. Steth. And it was just a funny thing because when I kind of seen that, like the Infinity War, it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a pretty expansive sort of thing where you had all these different sects of the character of the hero characters, and then you had Adam Warlock get involved, and then you had like the not the Celestials, but like Master Order, Master Chaos, all that sort of stuff.
The other
And
cosmic entities.
the cosmic entities and all that, and their involvement or not involvement, or, what is it? What is the four-handed entity called? It's the
The
gold
what?
one. There's a
Oh, the
forehead
Living Tribunal?
the Living Tribunal, yeah, the Living Tribunal was a big part of that, but you saw none of that here, and I think I can understand to some degree why they didn't wanna go that far. Part of it may have been copyright
Well, they have
stuff.
to they have to simplify it for, the average audience that has no idea what anything is actually about. They're
Yeah.
just, going to see a movie. So,
And the dashboard is right. It was all about the Infinity War was basically about getting booty. That's all Thanos wanted.
yep.
All he wanted. He just wanted a little of Mistress Death, and Mistress Death wasn't giving it. All right. But again, Mephisto played in part of that too. Like you can go back to that, and you can see Mephisto trying to be like, "Oh, Mistress Death is not happy because you're not doing this thing or this thing and all that stuff." And then the whole fight about getting the Infinity Gauntlet away from him. Um, and of course, there's like a whole pre-story about him collecting the Infinity Stones. Now, I don't remember the story exactly, but I do know that how they went about for like getting the Infinity Stones. I don't really think they had to do the whole somebody had to die to get the Soul Stone or stuff like that. I really
No, I think it was a lot simpler. They
yeah
merged a bunch of stuff together as well.
yeah.
So, like that, Infinity Cube is I don't think that was originally an Infinity Stone.
I think they call it, like, the reality cube or something like
The
that.
Cosmic Cube, I
Cosmic
think is what
cube,
it's
that's
called.
right.
Yeah.
That's got well, that and Thanos used to have a helicopter, but anyway, that's getting
Yeah.
far past the point. But yeah, there was just a lot of stuff that was not the case for the series, and like you said, they tried to simplify it because which one makes more sense to the regular folk? A big, strong guy who's searching for these very powerful stones, who is all about balancing the universe and all this sort of stuff and whatnot, or he's pretty much just trying to get the attention of Mistress Death, the female
Well, I
persona.
mean, that part actually probably makes more sense, but it's all the setup that's required that they
Yeah.
had to jettison because, the audience isn't gonna get that. They just wanna see a movie, they just wanna see a bunch of CGI battles, and
Mm.
then that's about it.
It worked. I mean, don't get me wrong, it
Yeah.
worked. Endgame was like the biggest applause I had ever heard for a movie in such a long time. I was there. It was at like an IMAX theater, and when it was done, when people saw Captain America finally pick up Mjolnir, people went bat crazy for that stuff, and rightly so. Rightly so. Um, but when that whole movie ended and you saw the people who played the characters, they'd write their name and see all that, it was minutes of applause, minutes of a standing ovation. It was just incredible. Now you don't even have that anymore. The oddity of it all is you don't really have that.
Well, people applauding in a theater has always been really funny to me because the
Mm.
people who made the movie aren't there. So who exactly are you applauding for?
Yeah, Joss Whedon was like there at the beginning of that sort of, well, maybe not the beginning because you had John Favreau who did the first Iron Man, which was
No, no,
one of
no.
the,
I mean, like when you applaud in the theater, the people who made the movie, they're not in there with you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like, there's nobody to appreciate the applause. You're just applauding a screen.
yeah, yeah.
But
But it's like it's like clapping when you land in a plane.
yes, yes, exactly. Well, no, because if you clap when you land in the plane, there's still like the pilot and stuff, and you go,
uh
"Good job."
We made it to ground.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I can't believe we made it. Oh my goodness. But anyway, it is the top of the hour. And so what that means is that I set aside some time. Yeah, and again I know I did start late, so we won't be doing anything extra tonight. But regardless of that, what happens is I set aside some time for me and my guests to kind of but still super cringe. Yep, I hear ya. Yeah, still super cringe. But anyway, so let me see if I can put this here. There's that. There we go. So, Nightmare, if you want to promote your stuff and all that, the floor is yours.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I am. My channel is on YouTube, Rumble. They have everything, all the videos, all the live streams. You can also watch the streams on Twitch and Kick. And then I have Odyssey as well. Oh, and X as well. So Odyssey has the videos, and then Twitter X. I also stream, and the videos should mostly be there as well. Um, but yeah, so you can find all of that if you go to the nightmare.world site that Daramouthe posted in the
Hmm.
chat. You can
Hmm.
find all of those linked. And I stream right now Thursday afternoons around 3 p.m. Eastern. Mostly it's just been some older games. Right now I've been playing Infamous on stream. Not sure if I'll pick up something new. I was thinking maybe
Oh,
give Ace Attorney a shot. I think that'd
nice.
be fun. Yeah, starring me voicing every character, of course. Uh, so that would be entertaining.
Yeah.
Or I might just do more Infamous, or I might even try get that Spider-Man game to work again. Yeah, we'll see. Um, well, yeah, and then on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X, I also have the Amazing Comics videos, which I'm probably not going to make those often because just a ton of work goes into them. But
Yeah.
I'll still make them from time to time.
Yeah, and that's understandable. I mean, you've got a lot of different platforms you're on and all that stuff, and it does take a lot of setup time for those kind of
Well,
things.
it's more the platforms aren't really the issue. It's more just like making the video itself because you got to
Yeah.
do all the research. You got to come up with a script. You got to find assets to put on the video. You got
Mhm.
to record all the lines, then do all the editing, and
Yeah.
then finally upload it.
Yeah, and that's the time consuming part. And of course, again, I know there's differences between them, but we'll get to that the platforms. We'll get to that later. But anyway, his links are down below on either end because I do stream to both Rumble and YouTube. I'm not just a one platform only person. Uh, but yeah, you can go to that link, and I don't know. It sort of reminds me of Card, but I use Linktree, so there's that. But no, that's
Yeah,
pretty
so my
interesting.
site's a little bit like a link tree, but I built it myself, so I have full
Oh,
control
nice.
over it. So, yep.
Nice. That's pretty awesome. But anyway, his link is down below on either end. So if you want to go see where his stuff is at and follow him there, the option is there for that. But thank you, of course, for that. Um, but from my end of things, whether again, like whether you're on the Rumble side or on the YouTube side, doesn't matter which side you're on. And it's a funny thing because I just checked over on my YouTube side, and it seems like YouTube has added their own version of channel points on YouTube, and yeah, that's interesting. See how that goes. But but anyway, whether you're on the Rumble side or YouTube side, doesn't matter which one. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leave the comment or follow, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated because at the end of the day, I'm not only does it help in being seen more, like all content creators want to be. I mean, come on, but it also helps in having other people on like Knightmare and like Tom B and so many other people. At the end of the day, I've had on over 200 various guests, creator or not, and it's been an awesome time just to have people on talking about whatever because it's what I do. Basically a conversational show. I always it always comes to me where people asking what is the show about? Is this just a conversation? So like, what's the topic? And it's like not really a topic, and they're like, oh, which is understandable. It's understandable because it's hard to um, define, but I define it as a conversational show, which is easy. But again, I understand some people not get it. So any help with the engagement factor on either end is much appreciated. Now let me take that off. Over you have to do 200 plus there, last command, not 200 but 200 plus. Yes. But no, don't do that. But also for my stuff, again, there we go. Uh oops. There we go. This is my link down below. You can go there. You can find my Twitter X. You could find my email. You could find my. Is it like I have a Discord link, but it's mostly just for DMing. I don't have a server. I only have so much mental bandwidth to do things, so I'm not really gonna start a server. So don't look to me for that. But it's just there if you want another option of communication because I do communicate through email or Discord or whatnot, but usually a majority of my communication is through Twitter X. So there is that. Um, let's see. Oh, there we go. And of course, the last thing I do now, obviously, like I've said before in the past, okay, press that. Like I've said before in the past, I'm not only am I part of the Rumble Creator Program, which whether I make it for the next one or not, I don't know, but I'm enjoying it all the same. I'm also part of the Proton Partner Program, and I like in April they were promoting it, and I entered in. Didn't think I'd get in, got in, and it's sort of been this interesting factor of like, okay, so how do I do this again? Because I'm really I know there are a lot of content creators out there who have stores and selling stuff and whatnot. I really can't. Internally, I can't do it because I get it, right? Majority of it, they're making a living off it or whatever, supporting their families and whatnot. I really can't be that person who sells items because it's just, it, it- you know, it- why why are you even having people watch your stuff if you're just trying to sell something at the end of the day? That's how I see it. And it's just like before all this monetization stuff happened, before all this trying to, maybe sell stuff or whatever happened, you had people just posting and making stuff for fun. It was there, they posted on YouTube way back in the day, and there was nothing more involved in that other than just making a video, posting it on, and having fun with it. Now you have all this other stuff, and it feels like, yeah, I don't, it just doesn't sit well with me. And so there's that factor. Well, oh, there we go. Goodness sake. Um, where was I at? Let's see. Trying to find. There we go. But again, I was doing the um Proton has a bunch of different products, email, password manager, all this sort of stuff. And I was doing the email one pretty well before. Hold on, let me put that. There we go. So I was doing the email one for a while, but now I've decided to kind of switch gears and promote the password manager one. Um, and so again, I use all different sort of the products that Proton has, um, and I'm promoting them because I believe they have a benefit for people rather than just trying to sell them. Oh, just whatever. You can look at it, do whatever you want. Um, but with Proton Manager, there are three things that kind of help make life easier when using it. One is you only need one password, right? Pass Proton Pass generates passwords for you. Like there are two different ways of doing it, but they do what's the word? What they do make password they generate, that's right, they generate passwords for you. And, I've used it plenty of times, it's kinda helpful, especially if you're making a new account or something like that on some online thing and you're trying to think of a password, and believe me, I have a password that I use just in case it's emergency, but it doesn't always help when you're online and you need to make a strong password, and that's what they do. So it's like people who make the password or 1 2 3 4 5 6 password. You don't have to do that with Proton Pass. You just set the limit of like the length of it, like 22 or 23, whatever, and it'll make plan page with AI. Well, you know what, Jeff? I'll leave that to you. I'll leave that to you. That's something for you to do. But they help generate passwords, and you can just set the amount of how many characters you want in the password, and it will generate for you. Um, so and that way you don't have to really put too much thought in it. You can just copy paste and all the stuff. Um, but yeah, the with the previous one with Proton email, you can make email aliases through this one as well. So if you're used to that before on the Proton email, you can use Proton Pass for that. Um, and the smart part, the third part of it, the really smart part is it actually watches your passwords and lets you know when uh, the if you like make your own password, not through Proton Pass, but just put your in, it'll tell you if the password is weak. It will let you know if a password you use is being reused because I'm sure many of you have seen all those news stories about how a company has gotten like what is it like their data breach or something like that, and passwords and all sorts of information has been changed out or whatever. Um, and it will help in that regard of maybe your password and stuff has been hit, or has been found out or what have you. And so, just as a reminder, when you hear stuff about that, it's probably good to change your passwords. But again, Proton Pass kind of makes it easier. So again, look, you can go check the link. They have a whole bunch of more stuff they'll tell you about. I just give you a few things. If you want to go for it, that's fine. I'm pretty sure they have a free version. Actually, you know what? Let me actually click on that link to make sure about that. I'm pretty sure they do. But they do have oh, they don't have a free version, but they do have a pretty um like a low version to pay for. But you can also do like their unlimited package, which is like the whole ordeal of Proton Pass, email, um, what is it? Calendar and a whole bunch of stuff. And it's all in one package or deal, but you can get them separately as well. So you can go give it a look. If it's worth your time of wanting to do, that's fine. If not, that's okay. I mean, yes, I can make some money off this, but it's really just promoting a product of benefit rather than. And yes, you do kind of have to pay for it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't cost you thousands of dollars to to do, and it doesn't cost you any money at all just to take a look at it. So whether you've been thinking about it or not, Proton passes a bunch of different things, and at the end of the day, I try to promote a benefit rather than just try to sell you on something. Like there was a, if you like I've said before, if you remember, Billy Mays would say, uh, "I wouldn't promote a product I didn't use," and I use Proton Pass on a daily, regular daily basis, especially if something new comes up. So, but yeah, I don't. The money thing is not that big of an issue for me, so I don't really care. All that matters is I see a benefit in this. I'm telling you about it. Whether you take it up to do it or not is up to you. But at the end of the day, I'm part of this ordeal, and we'll see how long I last in it. So, but anyway, thank you guys for that. But no, I wanted to ask about earlier. So you're on multiple platforms. What has been your experience on putting all your content on those different platforms?
Yeah, all the platforms suck in their own special way. Um, Thing is, I basically get no viewers on any platform except YouTube. Um, I I have a lot of thoughts on why, at least in Rumble's case, that is. Twitch
Mm,
and Kick. I mean, as far as I can tell, Kick is basically just a clone of Twitch, aside from some of their
basically.
policies.
Yeah.
And on Twitch, it's impossible to grow on Twitch alone organically these days. So there's
Mhm.
that. So I mean, I just stream there because might as well.
Yeah.
And then Twitter. I mean, I have some followers on Twitter, but I might get like one person per stream, if that, when I
Mhm.
stream there. YouTube, I get a couple of people. Most of them are just people I have known from around other places. But yeah, I appreciate them coming by. Rumble, I don't get viewers, and I think the biggest problem with Rumble is that the way they promote content. At least every time I've ever opened up Rumble's homepage, it's just entirely alternative Fox News. There's no recommendations to me about anything that isn't just politics. And I mean, I follow politics and whatnot, but
Yeah.
I'd like to, if you go on YouTube and you go to the homepage and you're
Yeah.
signed in, they're going to recommend you a ton of different things.
Yep.
There'll be some politics, but there'll be all sorts of other things. Right now, I'm getting like a bunch of like salsa recipes for some reason. Um, but
So
it's just all sorts of, yeah, it's just all sorts of random content.
Yeah.
And you scroll and eventually you'll find something to watch. But on
Yeah.
Rumble, it's all
Yeah.
just politics, and
Mhm.
people want more than just politics.
Yeah.
So, to me, it seems like Rumble wants to compete more with Fox News than they do YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a little disappointing,
Yeah.
but I think that's a big part of why, like, it's so hard to grow on Rumble as a like not as a like straight up political channel.
Well, I mean, I'm not a straight up political channel either, but I still grow to some degree, so I'm not gonna disparage it, but I'm not gonna agree with it totally either because you can if you can grow to some degree. It's just dependent on what you do and whatnot. But I agree, Rumble has a content discovery issue, and they did say to some degree they were working on it. But my issue is that this should have been something that had been done a year ago, basically. Um, they had done a mentioning on working on the platform stability, which I'm not too sure of. Um, I again, that's why I do my survey stuff and my Rumble Squared stuff because I'm trying to find that feedback data on, you know, okay, so they put out that stability on Rumble has gotten better. Does it, from your perspective, is it from your perspective better, or is it solving issues, or blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff? And that's how I knew when you're talking about content discovery, right, that's how I knew that platform stability and content discovery sucks on Rumble. I mean, we'll just be honest about it. Content discovery sucks on Rumble. And that's where comparison to YouTube and all that stuff. YouTube, I mean, again, YouTube is, for all better or worse terms, it is still king of the platforms. And if your main goal is to try to compete against YouTube, then you're going to have some similar stuff or tools to it. Not exactly. You can throw your own spin on it. That's fine. But people are so used to the ease of use stuff. And yeah, YouTube started out way back when, had to go through the same ordeals as Rumble's now and all that stuff, but it had the backing of Google at a certain point. After 2000, I think it was like after 2007 is when Google bought it and took over, but
Yeah.
before then, they really didn't have any Google backing. So to say they started out with Google is incorrect. They did not start out with Google. But
Right.
once Google bought them, then they started out with all that stuff, and it grew over time. And it's not really like a bonus for Google in the sense of like money wise, but it is a bonus in the sense for Google for all the other stuff, like data, right? Like people don't understand the stuff you're posting right now to YouTube. They're using to make VO3 better.
Yeah.
Like I don't, and for people on YouTube, if you do not understand that your stuff, right, is going to eventually lead to them making their own AI content creator, I don't know what to tell you. Like when they put that in, back in the back end of YouTube, they put a little thing for creators called the inspiration tab, right? So you go there, they use AI to kind of like, here are the three things, whatever. If you don't think that was a sign of the beginning of they're gonna start making their own content creator, they're gonna do it slowly, right? It's gonna be a slow roll, so you don't get um so you don't get a big notice, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to happen. They are going to create content creators, supposedly, that are going to play it safe for the advertisers because that's where the money's at, right? It costs multi billions of dollars to even run a video hosting site. It costs a lot of money, basically. It's going to cost a lot of money. Same with Rumble. Rumble needs advertiser money, all this stuff. At the end of the day, Rumble is a business as well. But there are a lot of things that people coming from the YouTube side are coming over to Rumble and saying, um, yeah, why should I use your platform again? It's
The thing
basic.
is, when I first, you know, got onto Rumble just as a viewer,
Mm,
back when everyone was jumping onto Rumble,
yeah.
it actually did have some discovery. Like I was getting some slightly more varied content in the recommendations, but then, once it really blew up, it seemed like they dumped all of that in favor of just being like heavily political.
Well, and that's where their money is. That's where the bread and
Yeah.
butter's at, unfortunately. That's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business and they're gonna go what makes them the most money. Um, but to not have the ability for someone to curate what they view, to not have some form of improvement on the recommendation engine, so where politics is not the majority they see in the front page. They may be working on it, but it's gotta start showing, like, yesterday. Like, if
Yeah, they need it. I mean, if they want to grow as a
yeah.
business, they do need to support things other than just politics.
Well, and
Because they don't wanna just be like, say BitChute, which has the same problem, albeit without I don't think they're anywhere near the kind of profitability or anything that Rumble is, but, they don't just wanna be the place people go when they can't watch their political content on YouTube. They wanna be their own thing, but
yeah.
right now, that's really what Rumble feels like is the place you go when you wanna watch someone who's been banned on YouTube.
Yeah, and I know a few of them. And the sad state of affairs is that, YouTube is kind of not corrected that course. If they did, you would not see Rumble grow as it does.
Oh, if YouTube stopped censoring people, Rumble they would kill Rumble, like that.
Yep.
But YouTube insists on censoring everybody. Rumble and seems to insist on just doing nothing but politics. So you're kind of stuck.
Yeah. It's the sad, unfortunate truth. But again, more power to them if they can get something done before the end of the year, but now is the time to kinda show you're more about politics, but again, it's kinda hard to when your whole basis of money is based upon politics, and if they can't get past that, probably by the end of the year, I don't see a reason why people should try to keep pushing it when there's not much, um, being pushed back for creators and viewers because like you said, you could you could have the whole front page be about your stuff. That's what YouTube does, right? You can have a whole front page about stuff you watch, stuff, and even stuff you don't even know about will be suggested to you on the YouTube side. It'll just suggest
Oh
stuff
yeah.
to you. So there's that sort of thing where it could suggest something new to you or a new person to you, and you'd never know before, and you'd probably go watch that, and you're like, "Hey, look, there's content right there," but they just don't have it, and that's the sad part.
Well, yeah, YouTube, for all its faults, it does sometimes promote like a smaller channel
Mm,
or a smaller stream, and then you can top in and see, oh, this is actually kind of cool, and then that's how channels can grow. But Rumble doesn't really seem to do that.
mhm.
They just promote like the big money making politics channels. So in the end, it just ends up feeling the same as like Twitch does, where you have to try and grow off platform if you want to grow.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but they are trying to promote the gaming section, but they are promoting, I don't know, they are promoting the well-to-do personalities that will make them money.
Yeah. So again, that's just like, it's like Kick,
Mhm.
same. It's Rumble is to YouTube almost what Kick is to Twitch. They're just promoting the same big people who are just coming over from the other site.
but but they're not they're not a copy of.
They're not a one-to-one copy in the way that
Yeah,
Kick is, but
yeah,
like in terms of like what they're promoting and
yeah.
growth and
That's
such.
that's funny. I was like, but they're not a one to one.
Yeah, but like in terms of the creators that get promoted, they're
Yeah.
So Kick
My
is
yeah. No, and again, a lot again, from what it's worth, people experience platforms differently. Where one grows better on Twitch versus YouTube or Kick, or where one grows better on Kick versus YouTube or Twitch, or where one grows on better on Rumble than YouTube or whatever. At the end of the day, the very basic of it, people experience platforms differently. That should be the base of it. Everyone's going to experience a platform differently. But what I've seen for majority part, people will promote more where they're growing more rather than where they're not growing more. And I understand it, right? Some people make a business off it or whatever. But for me, I just do this thing because of the opportunity it allows me. I get to talk to people like you. I get to talk to people like Alaska Man Jeff here who wants to burn the AI. I get to talk to all sorts of people, and I don't uh it's just one of those things where uh I I grow regardless. Like I said earlier, I'm part of the creative program, but if I if I don't make it next month for the creative program, it's no skin off my back. It really isn't. Although the proton one, I'm kind of more leaning towards because I didn't think I'd get in, and I don't know how I'm still in. I don't know how I'm still in that. But I'm appreciative for it. And Alaska Man Jeff says Rumble is doing what many alt companies do. They are gatekeeping for the people they endorse. Rumble will endure, but I think another platform will need to come about for small creators. But the problem of it is that you're always going to have another platform that comes across for the small creators because eventually the platform gets big enough that it's no longer about small creators. See how that works? Like you had Noise that was out there not too long ago, but they couldn't get enough funding to keep going. My point of the matter is Rumble has to do the thing that they're not doing, and that is promote all sorts of content that has nothing to do with politics, and of course gaming, because gaming is getting a big boost because they're trying to promote gaming. My issue with that is I am not interested in monolith building. What do I mean by that? Before gaming came along to try to build itself up, whatever, there was politics. And this was sort of when Dan Bongino, before he went, back to work for the government, whatever had come. That's what Dan Bongino was kind of brought in. He was brought in to help build the politics and all stuff, and that built up, and there was all sorts of money made off that. That's monolith building. I don't like that. If you want a lot of different people coming to your platform, then one, you've got to create the engine to recommend different pieces of content based upon what someone views. And right now, maybe they can't because they just don't have the backing or the technology or whatever. They may not have the people to write that coding or whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's kind of necessary because people don't much care about politics or want to watch it or, in essence, care about gaming.
I mean,
I
it
don't.
should not be that difficult to at least promote something different. There
Mm,
is no reason that they can't sprinkle in some, just say, hey, find some random small channels, maybe random small streams, something like that, and just throw them into just throw them into the feed so people can find something small, something new to watch.
mhm,
And it really shouldn't be hard. I don't think it is.
mhm.
Same thing with a lot of things that
Yeah.
Rumble is missing. There are, for example, like so in my day job, I, I was laid off
Oh,
2 months ago. But
sorry.
what I do, what are you gonna do? I didn't like the job anyway. Paid well, but I didn't like it.
Right.
But a lot of what I do is like Android development. It has
Oh,
been a lot of
really?
what I've done over the years. Yeah, yeah, and so. I don't know what Rumble's Android app is made with, but if it's a native Android app, I can tell you right now, they could literally hire me, and within a couple months, I could probably have the app working way better than it does now. One of the
Really?
thing, one of the things about the app that has been pissing me off forever
Mm.
is the fact that it doesn't support deep links. So if I send you a Rumble link to, say, an unlisted stream,
Mhm.
right? You cannot open that stream in the Rumble app on Android anyway.
Wow. Well, I don't think they do for the iOS either, because they do
Yeah.
have someone who's very for the iOS app, and even the iOS app. They just a while back they released a build to help take care of like the battery issue. Um, and Alaska Man Jeff says tech exists, code exists. They are choosing this. Well, it's not showing it very well. Select from videos where sub count 1,000.
Yeah, it's probably a little more complex than that, but yeah.
Yeah. But the point of the matter is that I mean, and again, their head of product is more of an Android user, and yet their
Yeah.
app kind of suffers a bit on both ends. Not just the
Yeah.
Android app; it's both suffers on both ends. And again, I
And deep
can't.
linking is not hard. The YouTube app does it. I'm pretty sure all the other apps do it. But
Mhm.
for some reason the Rumble app doesn't do it. And that's why I say, like, yeah, if they brought me on, I could probably fix that like pretty quickly.
Yeah,
And I
I
mean, like I've heard some of the I think it was on Side Scrollers. Yeah,
mhm,
Side Scrollers were Stuttering Craig, the host.
yeah,
He was saying that Rumble, can't hire people because then whoever they hire ends up being blacklisted and so on. But
yeah.
like just out of curiosity, I looked at their jobs website. They were not hiring, and this was maybe a month ago. They were not hiring any engineers at all. So
Well, they did add career like ML. I think was one of the things they added in DevZop or something like that. I think.
DevOps, yeah, I mean, there's some of that stuff, but that's like ML. That's machine learning. That's going to
Yeah,
be unrelated. That might be for their recommendation engine, and that's fine. But I
yeah.
think they should do some basic algorithmic work first.
Mhm,
But for DevOps is basically just making other developers' lives easier in a
mhm,
sense, and that's good.
yeah,
You should have people for that. But I mean, you should really also be hiring people to actually work on your app
yeah,
because
and
clearly, like, I mean, Android developers are not going to be involved in infrastructure, right? So
yeah,
the stuff about stability, that's got nothing to do with Android developers.
mhm,
The Android developers are going to be focused on the front end, making and same with iOS. Those mobile developers, they're going to be focused on features in the app and making the app work. So it's like
mhm,
if you're not, but maybe what they're doing is just trying to figure out how to slam more ads into it. Because I've noticed that whatever they've been doing, it's been making the app work worse and worse.
mhm,
For a while, their videos were just straight up not playing on the Rumble app. Like
mhm,
I think they fixed it again, but I was having that issue. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they're really improving the mobile app in the ways that they need to.
mhm. Yeah, again, that's where I try to do my data collection, my feedback collection, because um, a lot of stuff is scattershot. A lot of voices are scattershot. So you may listen to a few people, or not you, but you in general. You may listen to a
Yeah.
few people and think, "Oh, this is the biggest problem I have," and I've come to show that sometimes that doesn't all that's not always the case. I can't tell you, like, one of the things I've seen a lot of people bring up, and of course, like I just mentioned earlier, YouTube is starting to do their own thing with channel points. Channel points was a big thing people were trying to bring over from like Twitch and stuff. But I can show you from my surveys, at least from like March to May, where channel points wasn't that big of a thing that people wanted added to the system.
Well, it's really more of a gamification system to get people to stick around and comment more. I mean, that's fine, but what I've seen with YouTube is it's more of a chat points rather than a
Yeah.
channel.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like
yeah,
experience is what it is.
yeah,
Experience is what they. I
yeah,
don't know how to
experience
define that.
points.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, but it's just like you get more points for commenting in the chat, that kind of thing. That's
yeah.
fine, but I mean, who's that really going to help in the long run? That doesn't do a whole lot.
No, and I can understand
Yeah,
from many people who stream over to Twitch, like you want to bring over, like, same with YouTube, right? You want to bring
yeah,
over the stuff to the platform that they're used to, that they know. Again, ease of use.
yep,
What is the saying? Kiss, keep it simple, stupid, right?
yeah.
Rumble has that issue.
Oh yeah,
The problem with Rumble is that they have a you have to work to be on the platform issue. You have to
yeah.
do all these things. You have to do all these different settings and all this stuff. When in basic truth, that deters people away from the platform. People you want to come to your platform, they're getting deterred away because they have to work to be on. And I'm not talking like they have to work like make the content and whatnot. That's a different type of work. They have to work in
Just to
order
use it.
just to use it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I just need to rant about this for a second.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Why would you paywall such a basic feature as pre-scheduling your streams? That is something that has pissed me off to no end. Because if I want to schedule a stream out for more than a day in advance, I
Yeah.
have to pay for Rumble Premium. That is completely ridiculous.
I see where you go. I thought you were saying like you couldn't do it at all. I was like, no, that's not true. But you're
No, you
saying
can,
more
but you can
days.
only do it 24 hours in advance. So, if
Yeah.
say like today, let's say today I wanted to plan my stream for Thursday, I can
Mhm,
do it on YouTube and I'm not paying for YouTube Premium or anything. I
mhm,
can do it on Twitter. I don't think Twitch and Kick have anything for that, but I can't do it on Rumble until Wednesday.
yeah. Yeah. That's the again. It's there is a the part of it. I see it as a sort of like you get to test stuff out. But my I guess you like with you is that sooner or later they kind of have to catch up, and they're playing
Yep.
catch up. Let's what Rumble. I mean, I'm sorry to say. I mean, I'm supportive. I want to see it get better, but I got to call out for what it is. They're playing catch up,
Oh yeah.
and their technology is like they have the backing of Tether and the whole resource of that. They have a whole bunch of stuff. I was talking to a gentleman who created the streaming element Rumble Labs. Great guy. He's in Slovenia, so at times it was hard to understand him, but he was a really great guy. And he's been a software manager for 15 to 20 years. That's a lot of experience, I would think.
Yeah.
I talked to him, right? And we're just having a great conversation. I talked to him about, what he saw of Rumble because he supports the platform too. But he's like, look, the code is out there. Just take the code, make something of your own on it, and go from there. Even if it's just you change up to the nth degree of it's basically you. You're in a competition with your other platforms. And yeah, I can get the from the admin up there's like, you don't understand, we're trying to build up from our own. That's fine. That's fine if you're building up from your own servers and whatnot. But you are in competition with other platforms and they are taking the pie that you are trying to clamor for. If you are not willing to at least get up to par to where you need to be within your own field of, making your own and all that stuff, then you will lose people.
Oh
You will
yeah,
lose people.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I think some of the stuff that they were doing for infrastructure, that's great. They made their Rumble cloud platform and it's very
Yeah,
rudimentary.
yeah,
But that's great. They're trying to compete with AWS and so on
yeah.
for that infrastructure. That's great. Do that. But at the same time, why are they going into like weird crypto ventures? Like, what does that have to do with videos and streaming and all
Mhm.
that? Instead of, improving the actual platform that
Yeah,
we need. Like,
yeah.
why?
Yeah,
You know?
there's your again, all the small stuff that they've done, like little
Yeah.
bits in here. I get that the whole focus on the direct RTMP is great, but your other part of Rumble Studio needs some work. I don't know what to tell you
Yeah,
guys.
Rumble Studio needs a ton of work. Like,
Yeah.
it. I think I was saying I was in the chat on a previous show, and I said you cannot if you use Rumble Studio, you cannot stream in 1080p to other platforms.
No,
It
no,
cuts
to
down the bit rate heavily,
to 720,
and
yeah.
yeah, so well, 720 is the
Resolution.
resolution,
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
but it cuts down the bit rate, which is like the amount of data that gets sent.
Mhm,
So you get a lower quality stream for that.
mhm.
Um, and I think those are the big two. And then Rumble itself does not support like X265 or any of the newer codecs. It only supports 264.
Two Oh, you're talking like the H
H264, yeah.
yeah, okay. I was like, X264 was the oh, the H one. Yeah, because I saw that.
Yeah.
They keep playing catch up, but they yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I
Neuro
like
says,
mayonnaise.
okay. Neuro says, I think that's fair, though. Premium is a small investment. YouTube is subsidized by Google. I mean, yes, it is. I mean, they have YouTube Premium, but it is subsidized by Google. But again, your data is the whole point of YouTube because Google can use that for VO3.
Yep.
Basically, all the videos that ever exist on YouTube that haven't been deleted, because there have been stories about YouTube deleting videos. All those videos are a data mine for their AI. So you may, I mean, just as not to you directly to you, Nightmare, but just as in general to anyone who's on YouTube and prefers it more. All I'm gonna say is this: see you later, Jeff. See you, Jeff. Have a good one. All I'm gonna say is this: You may be putting your stuff on there. You may be enjoying all the stuff you get from its ease of use or not. But at the end of the day, you're giving something up, and that is your stuff is being used to train their AI, which means you are training your, it's like the H1B1 stuff, right? It's you are training your next person to take over, basically. So it's sort of like that. And then Alaska Me and Jeff says, I fear they want to get this is for Rumble. I fear they want to get rich, not solve the problem. And that may be, I mean, that's a
And
guess,
that's
but that,
fine.
yeah,
I absolutely support people getting rich, but also solve the problem so people want to give you money. It's not rocket science.
yeah, and that's where again for
Like
me
I
that
own like I have stock in Rumble. I literally bought some of the Rumble stock. I want
oh
them to do well,
yeah,
but
same.
I also want everyone else to do well who's on the platform so that
Yeah.
the platform also does well.
Yeah. It, my thing has always been, I will praise when it does well, and I will also admonish when it does poorly, because at the end of the day, if they want to be the best of the best, then they need to start looking like it, not acting like it, but looking like it. And right now, yes, they may have a small team. They only have maybe, I think, less than 140 people working for them right now. And while I guess they kinda, wanna be like a small group to what it kinda limits their ability to do things. And for me, that's why I do the feedback data collection because that is gonna cut through the fog of listening to whatever Rumble's gonna throw out at you or whatever a few people are gonna say. Because I'm not interested in being a cheerleader of a platform that's not willing to, hmm, step up in the places it needs to. And Rumble has a lot of places to do that. I'm not saying that they're not trying. I'm saying that they're not getting there and they're playing catch up. Because, like,
Yeah.
right now, YouTube is starting to put out their own experience, whatever thing it is. And Rumble has nothing of the sort. And they're relying on third party people, which is fine. They're relying on third party people to make these streaming elements, to add benefits and stuff. But the problem of it is their API suffers too. There is a whole bag of assorted stuff that it almost feels like from the outside they're just all over the place, right? They have a list of priorities and whatnot. I get that, but show us that you're serious about wanting to see your platform get better beyond the scope of direct RTMP, all this other flagration of word salad stuff. Show us. Don't say it. Show us. Show us that you mean serious business, that you want to see this platform get better because right now you suffer from content discovery. Your apps on both ends suck egg and people, no joke, I've had people who even work in the technology part have told me, "Just blow it up. Just blow up the app and start over again."
Yeah, that
Eh
I would not be seriously, literally, I'm gonna say right now, Rumble, if you wanna hire me, I'm not employed right now, so, I could come in, I'm not an iOS guy, but I could come in, I could rebuild your Android app. I'm sure I'd do a pretty
that's
good job.
that's pretty good. Coming from coming coming from the Batman looking like
Yep.
that works. You know what? If they don't give it to you, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I think that was
Yeah,
pretty
like,
good.
the Rumble app is so bad, I literally have ended up using, so there's an app by a group called Fudo who are doing, like, open source stuff. Yeah, it's an awkward name, I don't know why they went with that name, but
Alright.
they're doing, they're doing a lot of, like, paid open source stuff. So like it's open source, but you pay for a license, that kind
Mhm.
of thing, and it's good. Lewis Rossman used to work for him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So he was promoting their apps while he was working there. So
Hmm.
they're doing some really good stuff. I like their voice keyboard, but they have an app called GrayJ, which I've been using to watch Rumble,
Mhm.
and it works better than the Rumble app for Rumble because it's built to actually work. It's not built to make profits.
What is, Fudo?
Yeah, FUTO. GrayJ has its own site, I believe, grayj.app, GRAYJAY.app.
Hold on. Gray is Gray J like an A, right?
Yeah, like a blue jay, but gray.
Gray J what
Dot app.
dot app? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So there it is.
Follow creators, not platforms.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think
That's the
that's
one.
the one. Let me bring it up to show people.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah. So
Uh,
it's open source, but it is technically a paid app. But what's nice is you can follow everything: YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Kick, Twitch.
mm.
All that stuff is supported.
Oh wow, they even have Rumble right there too. I'm guessing they use the
Yes.
API to do it.
I don't know exactly how it works under the hood. It could be API, it could be scraping, but
Mm.
yeah, it works decently well. And I've been using that when I watch Rumble just because it works so much better than the official app.
Wow. Locally stored history, offline playback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it even has a built-in ad blocker.
Oh, is this the guy you were talking about, Louis Raw?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
Yes.
there was some kind of controversy with him a while back. I can't remember if it was like, or oh man,
Uh,
I don't know if it
I
was
mean, he's been involved in a bunch of stuff, so I don't
yeah,
know.
possibly could be that. But yeah, I mean, when a so when you can come to a different company that's making an open source app, and it is much better than your actual official app, I'm gonna start asking questions
Yeah.
because my thing is that it shows there's either not enough people able to do the job, or there's a form of incompetence that is happening behind the scenes. It can be either or. It could be a multitude of things. I'm not gonna say which is
Yeah.
which. The
It could be.
pro
Well, again, like I said earlier, I do understand that Rumble has a hard time hiring people because they get blacklisted and such
Yeah,
in the industry, supposedly.
yeah,
But again, like I said, it doesn't seem like they are hiring. So, what's going on there?
yeah. Yeah, indeed. And again, I do all the stuff, the data collection, all that stuff because again, like we've both said, we want to see the platform get better, but they're really not showing it. And that's the sad part. Is they're showing all this different stuff to like, ooh, the new stuff, and you get these hype cheerleaders and whatnot. But
Yeah.
my thing is if I can't be honest about a platform that wants to see itself as a YouTube competitor, because again, YouTube is the king of platforms, then it's not a platform one should associate themselves with so much because if you can't be honest about it, and that's with any platform, right? Kick, Twitch, YouTube, all that stuff. If you can't be honest about the platform from what you're seeing and what you experience, whatnot, then what is the platform?
Right.
Again, that's why I do my data collection because that cuts across the fog that people get lost in. And I'd rather have some data to back up what I say than just pull a bunch of stuff out of my butt.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad you do that. That is actually how I found you. Somebody recommended you,
Oh,
saying that
really?
you do a
Oh,
lot of good
I
work on
was
that. Yeah.
I was trying to remember. I was trying to. I thought it was from YouTube side because I think that's where you popped up. But I was like, where did I meet him at? And I was like, I can't remember.
No,
I
no, it was on
can't.
it was on Twitter. So do you know Melee Games? Those folks.
Oh, Millie K. Yeah, yeah. She was
Yeah.
on.
So Melee K posted about. She like reposted one of your tweets and she said, you should follow this guy because he does a lot of good stuff talking about Rumble. So that's why I followed you.
Oh,
Um,
well, thank you for that.
yeah,
Well, yeah, I've had her on once. She is so I met her. We kind of had a back and forth on Twitter X, but you
yeah,
on Twitter X, you kind of the social media aspect and all that stuff. So we're kind of good between each other. I enjoyed having her on. And she's a busy lady, so having her on is kind of like a difficulty in its own right.
yeah,
Um, but I'll have her on again. But I do think, and I think I know what post you're talking about too, because there was something that I think it was either Rumble Mario or Rumble Rick had said, and the problem of it is like not nothing against her. The problem of it is for on the Rumble end, it's like the reason why I do this stuff to survey the data collection is because Rumble doesn't give really anything data wise to
yeah,
its people. I mean, not I don't think any platform does either. I don't think YouTube gives any data thing or Twitch or Kick or whatever because it kind of exposes them a bit and maybe and gives their competition a leg up. But at the end of the day, it's like you don't understand what kind of form of transparency that is.
yeah.
Like there
And
was
I mean, I really, really wish. I don't know how much Rumble looks at the stuff you do. I really wish they did. And if they are looking at the stuff you do, I wish they would pay more attention because it's obvious that you are a much better business analyst for them than anyone working there.
I wouldn't go that far. I don't. I'm basically doing this on using AI for help and other stuff like in talking to other people. But
Well, yeah,
like
but that begs the question: why aren't they doing it? They're a big public company.
Yeah, because I was looking up. Well, actually, when I was, because I use Claude in helping with like compiling the data and stuff, and it's like they that kind of stuff like data analyst or whatever they call it, it costs that they people pay thousands upon thousands of dollars for that, and I'm doing
Yeah,
it for free.
yeah,
Basically, but I didn't do it for that kind of, like, recognition, whatever. I did it because I understand the frustration and anger many people have. I understand all that, and so that's what I did. Instead of being like a harasser, a troller, or whatever, which I get to some degree, but I turned it around and said, "You know what? What can I do to get past this frustration and do something that's a bit more positive?" Data collection. Right? People give feedback all the time on Twitter X, which is dumb. They should have something on their platform, but they don't. But people give, and of course now it's kind of hard because I put out kind of late, but I did put out like last month about like the question of customer support and all that, and I got very little responses. And I did a little rant a while ago trying to talk upon like, look, you want this platform to get better, right? Again, general you. But the point of the matter is that this feedback is going to help you guys so much more in the long run. And again, give your feedback to Rumble, make sure they have the part, whatever. But I need your feedback. You want to see this platform get better. I need your feedback. Why? Because the data can show what many people are clouded on, where the fog is at. Every bit counts and helps clear that fog and helps rise it up, right? When you've been
yeah,
outside,
absolutely.
when you've been outside, you've seen like the sunrise come and there's fog, but after a while the sunrise just burns that fog away. That's basically what my feedback collection is. It's helping to clear things up. But if people for a question of the month, which is only for a week, and I put out on X. And part of it not being seen is on X, so there is that. But the issue of it is, if people aren't willing to give their response and they keep complaining day in, day out, and they are not seeing the changes they want to see, then how will you think anything gets done?
Yeah,
This clears that. It's not 1,000 people, right? I understand that. Otherwise, Rumble may not look at it.
yeah,
And I will say to some degree, when I put out my April survey stuff, because I've been doing it since longer, but I've been using Microsoft Forms to do the construction of the surveys and whatnot, the big surveys. And then from March to May, my data showed that, hey, platform stability, content discovery are the sufferers. When I put that out on end of April, which is like April 28th, on May 2nd, the CEO came out on Twitter X and said, "Hey, we're working on platform stability and we're working on to get it better." Can't claim anything other than it's very coincidental. It's
yeah.
very coincidental. Then come in June, they say, "Hey, we're pretty much wrapping up on getting the platform stability better. How about we work on search next?" What is search? It's part of content discovery. Tell me again. Very coincidental. Very coincidental. But I can't claim that because the company will never say that. That's giving too much credence to me. And I understand that. But I can't claim that either. All I can claim is that you give something to me, I post it out there publicly that you can see, and that helps you in the long run. Because a company can't hide behind. They can discredit it, which I've had, but not by the company, by someone else. Somebody can discredit and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, it gives clearance to all of you, viewers, newcomers, creators, all that. But you have to I need your help. I can't I can't force people to take the surveys or the questions a month. But if you don't help me, you're always going to be complaining. You're always going to be left in the dark. You're always going to be at this point of wondering, oh, why isn't Rumble doing this, this, or this? Guess what? They have a board. Guess what happens if one of those board people see the stuff I'm putting out, the data and stuff I'm putting out, and all of a sudden that gets their attention. They're saying, hey, somebody's been doing this survey stuff, and I saw that. and this big thing right here, like their content discovery was they're not seeing any improvement. Yes, it does take time for things to be improved and put in. But guess what? You get a form of transparency Rumble does not provide.
Yeah.
If you can't help if you aren't willing to give me that feedback, I don't know what to tell you. I don't. No one else is doing what I'm doing, which is the funny part. You have people doing roundtables for Rumble, sure, but you don't really have them doing data collection. You can have the CEO and head of product in your chat all day long, but that's not really helping the people who are using the platform day in, day out.
Yeah, again, with roundtables, it's just going to be the same thing. You have a bunch of big name people who are already successful, and it's like, well, that's great, but your issues are not going to help like the bulk of people who are trying to grow. And I will say, since you mentioned Twitter, I will say I have to give Elon Musk some credit there, and it could still be a lot better, but he
Yeah.
has been trying to improve the platform. One, he responds directly to user feedback sometimes, which is very cool.
Hmm.
But two, he is trying to improve it so you do see more. I think the phrase he used was banger tweets from smaller accounts, and so he is trying to yeah. So he is trying to help people grow on Twitter, which is what we want, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to grow wherever you are. People want to grow.
Well,
So I appreciate that about him. And then on the other side of that, the Rumble thing, there is no reason that Rumble should not be able to collect feedback in their app. It is, especially these days, it's very easy. YouTube even has like that basic. I don't know. Sometimes when you use YouTube, it might ask you like, "Hey, how was this recommendation? What did you like about it?" That kind of thing. It might ask you that
yeah.
in your feed. But there's no reason Rumble can't do something so basic as in their app on their website when you're
Yeah.
logged in, just give you a little give you a link in the sidebars, a little form, something like
Yeah.
that. Just say, hey, have any feedback? Please send us your feedback. And then literally all they have to do is take whatever feedback you give them. They just put it all into like a giant list. And with today's machine learning tools, they could literally just go, okay, here's all the feedback we've gotten,
Mhm.
dump it into our machine, whatever AI tool we want.
Mhm.
And then the AI can summarize whatever the biggest pain points are given the feedback that they're getting,
Yeah.
and that would work well, but they're not doing it.
Mhm. Well, and again, that's why I enjoy you. And I know there's other ones out there like GPT or
Yeah, there's
uh,
ChatGPT. The X has its Grok.
yeah,
There's you Claude that you use. I think there's one called Perplexity. I have
yeah.
my own AI that I run locally. All
Oh
that
wow.
stuff. Yeah,
And there's a guy I actually had on who's actually uses AI to kind of help with certain things. But I just use Claude
yeah,
because gotten so used to it, and Chat GPT is the big name around here, and maybe sort of Grok, but I just like using Claude because it kind of um, I don't know, I've just used it long enough and I've kinda gotten used to it, and, it's sort of a familiarity thing for me,
yeah,
but I enjoy using it because it's sort of, you do again, with AI, you do have to be descriptive on sometimes, but you can be also a bit vague and then kinda whittle down from there.
yeah,
But I pay for it to use it because using free it would limit me so bad. But
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's the nice thing about having my own is, sure, it might not be as advanced as these paid for models, but it's entirely free, and I know that it's not sending my data to anyone shady.
Well, I know that Claude is like the AI privacy only one or whatever they call that, so I don't know how
They
true that
say
is.
that, but if it's hosted online by somebody else, you still got to trust them. So that's the
Ye
thing.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of stuff. But regardless, we all want to see Rumble get better, but they've gotta stop saying, and they need to start showing. That's my issue.
Yeah.
That's my issue.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but anyway, we're gonna start heading out because it is starting to get to that time. And like I said, there's not gonna be anything extra because yes, it was my fault. I took a nap and I ended up staying up a little. I ended up sleeping over, so it is what it is. But we're still gonna head out regardless. But anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna still do our the promoting our stuff and all that, and a few other things, and then we'll be out our way and we'll go from there. So tomorrow, I'll probably do some extra stuff because I'm part of the creative program, so I got to fulfill all that requirement. The only thing about the creative program, about the requirements I don't like is the premium only stuff. Everything else is easily fillable just by upfront. Because I get it. On YouTube they have membership only and all this stuff, and I get that. That's fine. But for me, it's like, eh, I just want to do this thing. I just want to do this
Yeah.
thing, and making it too complicated as it is just deterrent from that. Because my thing is so basic, it's almost laughable how I don't see very much of it out there. So, but that's just me. But anyway, so let me see. But if you want to start your promoting of stuff, hold on, let me find it. Can I find it? Like, oh, here we go. So go ahead and promote your stuff.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, Knightmare.world, that is basically my link tree. It has links
Mhm,
to my YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, Kick, and Odyssey. So everything is on YouTube and Rumble. So those are probably the best places to follow me, as well as Twitter. You'll get my tweets and my streams and videos. Um, and then Twitch and Kick if you just want to follow streams, and then Odyssey if you just want to watch videos.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, so you can find all of that. I have some video essay type content, so under the Amazing Comics brand, so you can check those out.
nice.
Right now, mainly I stream. My schedule seems to be Thursdays around 3 p.m. Eastern. Mostly like superhero games, older games, that kind of thing. And so we might either most likely this Thursday I'll either be playing some more Infamous or I might kick off Ace Attorney and see how that
Mhm,
goes. But just different kinds of fun stuff.
yeah.
And yeah, that's my channel.
Nice, yeah, and, again, all his links are in the nightmare.world down below on both Rumble and YouTube, because I do try to keep it the similar across all platforms. I maybe I'll add a third platform later on, but right now Rumble and YouTube is where it's at because it's just mentally. I have a full time job, mental bandwidth wise. I just so there's that. But again, his links are down below on both Rumble and YouTube. So give it a look, and if he's worth a follow, why not? Right? I don't tell people to go follow someone because I've seen that one too many times for content creators I followed. And I really think if your content is worth following, then all you really need to do is say, hey, if it's worth it, give it a go.
At least come say hi.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, just because his name is Nightmare does not mean he's scary, okay, guys? Just because he looks scary does not mean he's scary at all. He's very friendly.
I only torture melee games.
Oh, well, she kind of can take it though.
Yeah,
She's very rowdy. I've
yeah.
met someone else who's similar to like that, but she's all right. She's all right, my buck. But anyway, whether you're on the Rumble side or the YouTube side, whichever side you're on, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a comment, or follow, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated because at the end of the day, not only does it help in being seen more, like all content creators want to be. I mean, let's be honest. If there's a content creator out there that says they don't want to be seen more, then deep down they're really thinking about it. But even then, I do this thing because I enjoy it. You can it also helps in having other people on, like Nightmare, like Malay like Alaska Jeff, and like so many other people. At the end of the day, I talk to people who are creators. I talk to people who aren't creators. I have followed so many different content creators that the one biggest thing, the one big thing they're missing out on, uh, and they don't have to do it or not. I mean, create the content you want, is just talking to all sorts of people that aren't content creators. You have content creators that have tens of thousands of followers. And I don't think I've ever seen or heard, at least from the ones I've followed, where they've brought on people who are followers onto the show. It's mostly just other content creators. And there's an understandability and risk. But I've shown that the risk is worth it. People have brands. They want to protect their brands. I get it. But guess what happens one day? You're gonna be dead. Brand doesn't mean anything at that point. I do this thing because it's limitless, it's valuable, and it connects people on the basic scale that we all do, conversation. And that's why I do it. So any help with the engagement factor helps with that part. And of course, like your where is it at? I had the link for my oh, here we go. Here we go. I have a link down below. I have a link down below. It shows my Twitter X. It shows an email. It shows a link to Discord. I don't have a server. Don't ask. I'm not going to do it. I know a lot of people do, but it's just not an interest to me. I only have so much mental bandwidth. But if you need another place to contact me, that is the place to be as well. Again, Majority of my contacting people like Knightmare have been through Twitter X, but at the end of the day, there are other ways to contact me if that doesn't work for you, and that's okay. Um, but regardless, that link is down below on both ends. You can go there, find it, whichever one works for you. That's okay. And of course, like I said earlier, I'm part of the Proton partner program. I am now starting to promote the Proton Pass. Um, I was doing the Proton email earlier, which is free to try, but I think Proton Pass you can have to pay for it. But regardless, Proton Pass is worth its weight in gold. Even if you just want to go to the link and check what else it says, other than the three things I mentioned, like saving passwords and all that stuff. At the end of the day, um, I use this stuff. It's a great benefit, and I'm just promoting it for the benefit of because there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there. And Proton does their best and trying to make a better product for all. Yes, there is a way I can get paid for this, but the money just really isn't a mattering factor to this. I'll be honest with you guys, right? You have a lot of content creators that have stores, like we are saying earlier, stores, merch stores, and all that stuff. I can't do that. I personally, internally can't do that. And the reason why I can't do that is because it feels like a dishonesty in trying to sell you something that either I don't use or whatnot. Um, people sell food items, people sell cups and mugs and all stuff, and that's fine. Do what you will. But for me internally, I can't do that because it feels like a false it feels like a falsity to why one creates content. I get it. You're making a business out of it. You're making a living out of it. But it, the beginning of YouTube, there was no incentive for making money. It was just making content. And the thing I do with DaraChat is about making connections and having conversations. There's a way to donate if you want, but you don't have to. And the best part about it all is I've never asked for a donation, and yet people still, care about enough to do so. And I'm always surprised. At the end of the day, it just doesn't sit well with me, and that's why I've never been too keen on it. So, regardless, I'm promoting a product that has benefit. I use the product. Check it out if you want. That's fine. If you don't, uh, whatever it is, I just think that it can be a great benefit to many. So there you go. Or what else? Oh yes, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm gonna have a lovely Meg what's that? Megu Megamoo 32 on. She has just recently started streaming. She streams to other platforms as well, but she started recently streaming to Rumble. She's more of a music personality, but regardless, I'm excited to get to just chat to her about whatever because that's what my show is about, free flowing conversations. And so that'll be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. But like with all things, I set up my streams the night before because it's it takes a weight off my shoulders for tomorrow. Because my guest, like with you, my guest usually gets the link for Rumble Studio the day before, and that just for some content creators, it's like either the hour before the show or a half a day, a few hours before the show, and I'm like, I just, I can't. Once it's done the night before, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
An hour before, oh, it feels like such a disaster, and I'd rather just
Yeah.
done. So, but that's just me. But that is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern with Megimu, MEGIMU 32. Megimu. I that sometimes I get it mixed up with Megamu or Megumi. That's right, Megumi. So forgive me. But the last thing I do is called questions from a hat. Now, obviously, if you've all been here before, don't ruin it. I've got to explain it to him. All right. But what happens is I bought a hat from Rumble right here, and I've put a bunch of questions in. So what happens is that you, my guests, get 2 freebie questions. Now, I'm not monetizing YouTube, so the YouTube side, one day maybe I will, but for now, nah. However, on the Rumble side, I am monetized. So if you would like to have more than the 2 questions pulled out of the hat, guess what? You have to give a Rumble rant. Doesn't matter what the amount is. I've had people spam me the $1 before. Look, that whole wall back there is filled with Rumble rants that maybe are like $1 or 2. Like that's all Rumble rants right there. So $1 or $2 doesn't matter the amount. Just matters that you have to pay, you have to give a Rumble rant in order to have another question pulled out of the hat. So we're gonna start with the first question. and I hope you're ready. They're not that hard. Don't worry.
All
But
right.
anyway, here's the first question right here, and let's see what it says. The question is, oh, this is easy. Would you rather read a book or watch a movie?
Probably watch a movie.
Yeah. Why a movie over a book?
Less of a time commitment.
That is true. Usually it stays with the book, and hours with the movie, depending on if it's the Lord of the Rings movie. That feels like days.
Well, even so, it's like, the equivalent book is still going to be a lot longer, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh, have you ever? I listened to when Andy Serkis did the voiceover for the Lord of the Rings, and that was pretty awesome. Because when it
neat.
came up to him doing Smeagol again, I was like, yes. I was like,
I
yes.
never got into Lord of the Rings actually, so
Yeah, that's all right. But it was just one of those things. And the Hobbit, he did the Hobbit too.
yeah.
Um, question number 2. What's your least favorite color and why?
Least favorite color. Might go with brown.
Why brown?
Just a very depressing color. Makes me think of fall and
Oh.
poo.
Wow, I didn't know poo depressed you.
Well, it's not the color of anything, very cheerful, except
Well,
maybe like chocolate.
yeah, well, chocolate's cheerful, but I can understand.
I like chocolate, but I'm trying to not be fat, so I can't eat a lot of chocolate either. So,
Ah, dang, I'm a chocoholic by nature, so I know the feeling, but I have all this like,
yeah.
the sweets in itself. But anyway, guys, again, tomorrow, 4 PM Eastern with Maggie Moo. It's gonna be the death of me for that, at 4 PM. And again, thank you all and chat so much for coming along, and thank you, Nightmare, for coming along. I appreciate you coming on. I apologize again for earlier, but you're always welcome to come back for another time, and that time it will be on time. Because I've been off for a few days because of the holiday weekend, so it's been joyous. But you kind of do skip on some things. So again, you're always welcome to come back. But July is looking to be very full. Again, I've had on over 200 various people, creator or not, and yeah, it's been interesting. Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you. No, thank you. But anyway, guys, how I end out my show is what you came in earlier with was well, you weren't here, but there was a music video I did, and I usually end out with one I play all the time at the end called "One Day with You" by Pogo. Again, guys, see you tomorrow at 4 PM Eastern with Maggie Moo, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Until next time, guys. Bye.